Welcome to Lighting for Profits.
All light.
Powered by Emery Allen.
Get rid of your excuses.
Your number one source for all things landscape lighting.
That's where the magic can happen. You can really scale a business.
We really had to show up for each other.
From lighting design, install, sales, and marketing.
You're a scaredy cat salesman, Kurt.
We discuss everything you need to know to start and grow a successful landscape lighting business.
What do you think a hippo has to do with your business, Ryan?
Usually it's some weird childhood thing. Some bully kicked your butt.
I think the key factor here is trust.
Here is your host, Ryan Lee.
All light. Welcome, you guys, to the number one landscape lighting show in Lehigh, Utah. Oh my gosh, it's going to be a great show, you guys. We've got the one, the only, the legend, Miss Janet Lennox Moyer coming on the show with us. So make sure you guys stick around. This is going to be such an awesome show. Gosh, I'm so happy to be able to do this for you guys every single week. If you're looking to start or grow a landscape lighting business, you're definitely in the right place. We are here to educate and motivate to help you dominate. And just want to thank you guys while we get started. Thank you so much for your support. Go give me a 5-star review. Go to Apple, go to Spotify. I don't care. I just need 5-star reviews. It just makes me feel good. All right. And by the way, if you give a 5-star to me, then maybe your clients will give you a 5-star review. So just go do the right thing. You know, the golden rule. Guys, again, we got Janet Lennox Moyer. She's coming on in just a few minutes. It's hard to introduce her because she's done so much for the landscape lighting industry. I was writing down like some titles: author, designer, speaker, educator, life changer. Yes, she's a life changer. Legend, pioneer, innovator, all these awesome things. So make sure you guys stick around. We're going to talk about some things that she's done in her past, some things that she's working on now, and then potentially some future things that we don't even know what she's doing, right? So I'm so excited to have her on in just a couple minutes. So make sure you stick around. And by the way, if you want to be part of the conversation and you're here live, just ask the questions. And if they're a good question, I'll ask her. If not, I'll be like, no, I'm not asking that question. But be part of the conversation. We'd love to have you. As a couple announcements before we have her on, this next week, you guys, July 19th through the 21st, I'll be in Cincinnati at the Haven Lighting, their first annual Smart Outdoor Conference. They just completed building their new showroom. So I'm excited to see this training center. I'll be speaking there. I'll have a booth there. So make sure you come hang out. And I'll put I don't know, just shoot me a DM or go to havenlighting.com and you can find out the info. We've got, and I'm leaving on like Thursday or Friday after that to go straight from Cincinnati to Raleigh. And I'll be going to Lights for Decorators. Jimmy Tompkins is putting on an event, and we're going to teach people about, well, he's starting before I get there, teaching about Christmas lights. When I get there, we're going to start teaching about landscape lighting. That's July 21st and 22nd next week. So make sure you go get your tickets for that. And then I'm still promoting you guys. We had our 100th episode not too long ago. And our 100th episode, I wanted to get 100 donations, just 100 people to donate. Doesn't even matter how much money you donate, to seva.org. And I put the link. It's a GoFundMe link that we created. And we've already raised over like $2,600, which is awesome. And for just $50, they can cure blindness for someone around the world with a simple cataract surgery. And I think it's so awesome because I love lighting. I'm so passionate about it. And lighting has changed my life, my family's life, friends. It changes the world. Like, it's so awesome. And there's people that can't see, you guys. They can't see lighting. And lighting is so powerful. The people that get these surgeries can now take care of themselves, and it ends poverty, and it does so many awesome things. So if you've learned anything from the show or gotten any value, go give me a donation, right? It's not me, but go help my GoFundMe to help Seva and help these people get vision. And it's crazy what $50 donation will do. So even if it's $5, I don't care. We're just trying to get 100 donations for our 100th episode a couple months ago. So go help me out. And want to thank Emery Allen, you guys, for their support. You know, they've been sponsoring this podcast, and really appreciate them. You know what sets Emery Allen apart? Well, bulbs aside, they believe customer satisfaction should be the top priority, always. Emery Allen goes out of their way to ensure lighting professionals have access to the best light sources built with the high quality components suited specifically for the landscape lighting industry. At the end of the day, it's what's on the inside that counts. So take advantage of Emery Allen's world-class customer service and get 10% off your first order for new clients. And again, don't go to their website, because their website doesn't give you the Lighting for Profits discount, that discounted contractor pricing. You got to email the man, Tom G, at emeryallen.com. He'll get your account set up, get your discounted contractor pricing. So just email Tom G at emeryallen.com to get your account set up today. All right. What's up, Tom? I see you here on the podcast. What's up, Facebook user? Hashtag light on. That's probably James. What's up, James? Living the dream out on the islands. So, all right, guys. So again, in just a couple minutes, this is going to be such an awesome episode. I'm not going to make you wait long because we've got Janet Lennox Moyer coming on the show. And I got the opportunity to hang out with her this last spring at the intensive course for ILI, the International Landscape Lighting Institute. And we're going to talk about that. But this is going to be a great episode. So stick around. Before we have her come on, what's up, Jeremy? Got Jeremy's vibing in the house. Before we have her come on, I want to talk about something. At least in Utah, it's summer sales, like door knocking season, right? I call it summer sales season because almost every night someone's knocking on the door. And I don't know if it's like that in your area, but you ever get, door knockers? So I want to ask you guys, when someone knocks on your door, what do you do? Do you pretend you're not home? Like tell the kids, hey, shh, be quiet, quiet, everyone down, right? Everyone down. So you don't have to answer the dreaded door knock, right? Do you scare them off with a pistol like people do in Texas, or do you send your kids to the door because you don't want to talk to them? Or do you send your spouse to the door because you don't want to talk to them? Or maybe you're a little bit kinder and you buy from them. Maybe whatever they're selling, you buy from them. Or the last one is what I want to talk about. Do you hire them? All right. So it seems like the last few years, especially, there's been one common trend out there in the landscape lighting industry and really almost every home service industry. It's like, where do I find good team members? Well, first of all, notice I called them team members. I didn't call them, where do I find good help? Where do I find employees? Where do I find workers? Right? Team members is the terminology. And your language is just one of the reasons why you might not be as attractive as you think you are. Right? And I'm not like a big language guy. Like I'm very basic language, but I'm learning, right? And I'm constantly trying to improve in that area. And years ago, I changed, instead of calling people employees, I call them team members. And I like it, and I think they like it. But this summer, we've had quite a few people knock on our door. And I actually love talking to someone brave enough to knock on my door, right? I actually love it. And think about this. Here's why you should hire them. What else are you looking for in someone? What are you looking for in an individual that if they will knock on your door, they'll do pretty much anything, right? I mean, when's the last time you've knocked on someone's door? Like your heart gets pounding. Like it's not an easy thing to do, right? And so if they'll knock on your door, like they're going to pretty much do anything. So we got Christmas light season coming up, and you guys know what ABC stands for? ABC. Well, there's the famous movie with what's his name? I can't remember his name now. But it was about, coffee's for closer, ABC, always be closing, right? Well, now we're talking about ABC as always be recruiting. Always be recruiting. I got that from Dan Plata. Always be recruiting. Glengarry Glen Ross. Thank you. Alec Baldwin. American Baldwin. That's awesome. So we're not always be closing right now, even though I love talking sales. Right now, we're going to talk about how we can close on getting better team members, right? So always be recruiting. The key here, guys, is don't wait until you need someone. So maybe you're like, well, I don't need anyone. I'm slow right now. I don't want to hire anyone right now, right? I don't want to grow, whatever. Well, imagine being in a position that when you do need someone, all you need to do is make a phone call. Imagine being that, like, wow, man, we just got a bunch of work and now we need more installers, or we're slow and we need a salesperson, or we're growing and we need someone to answer the phones. Like, what if you could just open up your phone and make a phone call and call them up? It's like a pro getting called up from the minors, right? And all the sports teams do this. They'll have players on standby. So the question is, do you have your bench team ready to go? Imagine how much less stressful this would be if you had a list of people you could call on. So think about this. Like, who do you want to hire? Do you want to hire someone who is looking for a job because no one wants to hire them? That you like posting on Indeed and all these places where people don't have jobs, look for jobs. Like, I've never wanted to hire someone who doesn't have a job because, like, why don't you have a job? Right. So I like to hire people that have a job because it shows initiative. Like, they already have a job. Right. So I'd rather hire someone with a job because they understand the concept of life. That's how life works. Okay. You work, you earn money, you provide for yourself. Right. So you may be thinking, well, right now is not a good time. I can't afford someone or whatever. I'll be ready in 2 years, whatever. Doesn't matter, you guys. Imagine being that person on the other side of the door. You're the person knocking on a door and someone says, wow, you are impressive. I own a very successful business and I'm always looking for all-star people to join our team. And I know a lot of other very successful business owners as well. And they're always looking as well. So let me get your number. And when an opportunity comes up, we can meet up to see if it would be a good fit. How does that sound? Like, how would you feel if someone told you you're awesome? Right? I mean, how often is this happening in the world today? And so that's totally different from like the traditional interview approach, right? So this right now is summer sales season. It's summer recruiting season, you guys. And this is the thing. Like, this is the key to business. And it doesn't have to end with like the summer. But the cool thing is you have people knocking on your door and usually they're trained. They know how to talk to people. They have courage. They're willing to do hard things. Like, these are things that I look for in team members, right? And so they're good, but also the summer's going to end and then you're gonna be like, great, now I can't recruit, whatever. No. What about when you get your oil changed? What about when you get your tires changed? Haircut, grocery store, the lawn guy, gas station. There's interactions you have with quality, awesome people every single day, right? So write down what you're going to say and say it to them and get their phone number. So I've actually been gathering. I have no reason to hire these people right now, but I've been gathering all these names and numbers over the summer of people that are awesome people that either when I or someone I know here needs someone, I'm going to call them up from the bench, right? And I got lost on this, especially early on in my business. I was so focused on sales, like that was the only thing that mattered. It was like, how do I get the next sale, the next sale, the next sale? And that meant I would also bend over backwards for my clients. Like, we were like top level customer service. Like, we were doing a lot of things right, but I did forget about my team members, which I called employees at the time, right? And think about this: your team members are your internal clients, and this changed everything for me because I'm like, wait a minute, I know how to, do customer service for clients. I know how to get new clients. Well, how do I get internal clients, and how do I do customer service for them? How do I make sure they're happy? Because this is the key to a successful winning business: is finding clients that value what you do and pair them up with your internal clients that value what you do and merge them together. That's a great place to work. That's a great business to run, right? And so, and I'll leave you with this, and then we got Jan coming on. I'll leave you with this. I also learned this from Dan Plata: the average lifetime value. What's the average lifetime value of a landscape lighting client? And I know we've got different size businesses and different size customers, but some people are doing $300,000 lighting jobs. Some people are doing $3,000 lighting jobs. But so you can figure it out what your average lifetime value is. But I would say, on average, just like a regular lighting company that's trying to get by, their average lifetime value of maybe their client only spends $10,000 right now. So maybe they end up getting $30,000 out of that client over their lifetime, right? Maybe 50,000, maybe 100,000. But what's the average lifetime value of a team member? Okay, this is huge. If you have $1 million business and there's 4 of you running that business, that means every single year, the value of that person is $250,000. You need that person to complete $250,000. That's way more than our $30,000, $50,000 average lifetime value of a client. So I'm encouraging you to work for your internal clients, change your mindset, help yourself, really, because you're going to get in a situation where you want to scale and you can't. Maybe you can get the sales, but you can't because your internal clients, they're gone, right? And we're not going to talk about, we don't have enough time today to talk about culture and how to keep them happy and stuff like that. But I want to encourage you, when someone knocks on your door, ask them for their number and get to know them instead of hiding behind the door and telling all the kids, be quiet, everyone down, everyone down. I've done all these things, you guys. I've done them all. So, all right, guys, I think it's time. I hope you're ready. I know I am. Let's get the music going and let's get our guest coming. It's time to welcome our guest. Are you guys ready? What is up? Welcome to the show.
Hey,
Janet
So-
Lennox, how are you?
I've got a thought about what you were just saying.
Yes,
When
let's do it.
you become an ILI team member, you've got hundreds of people waiting to help you.
I love that.
I've used almost every, not all, but almost every ILI team member on projects throughout the years.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I saw that when I was there. I saw people talking about upcoming projects or previous times they'd worked together. And then even since then, I've seen pictures of ILI family members like on other projects working together. So it's awesome.
Yeah. So you can get anything that you need from ILI members.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, welcome to the show and
Thank you.
congratulations on an amazing career so far in the landscape lighting industry.
Thank you.
It's so cool. I've got man, I've got some of your books in front of me and I'm just still like blown away all the stuff that you've done. And somehow you still like are smiling and happy and you're still out and about doing stuff. I'm like, how did she do all this stuff? It really is. If anyone's read your book, like or attended ILI or any of this stuff, been around you, it's really insane. So congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So I want to ask you the first question. You've had this awesome career, one that really most will only really dream about. How can someone land a project like the ones that you've been able to do?
I think it comes from your care about the industry. And so how did I become known? I think I became known because of one of my mentors, friend Kellogg Smith, who believed in what she called the star system. So she would just throw you out into the world. Someone would call her up and say, would you speak on this topic at this event? And she'd say, okay, Jan, you go speak at that. And so I learned to just be out there and present myself and show what I know and how much I care. And that rubs off. Every time I've given a presentation, no matter where it is, maybe I don't get a project from everyone, but almost everyone I get a project from. And it might be 3 years later, but it teaches you to share what you know and to expand your world.
Very cool. So if someone's, struggling with leads right now or just wanting to get their name out there, where would they go? Like, where could they go give a presentation right now?
Call up the local garden club, call up the local, what are those organizations that are in every town where they all get together to talk about business and share their contact?
Yeah, there's like Chamber of Commerce and BNI.
Chamber of Commerce. Call up the Chamber of Commerce, say, you want me to talk about landscape lighting for you? Call up the AIA, the American Institute of Architects, or the landscape associations. Find anybody, or even if there's a local fair going on, see if you can give a presentation at the local fair. I used to give presentations at the San Francisco Home and Garden Show, and I got lots of clients from that.
It's so awesome. So everyone go out and do this and just start your, like when you call and they say, who are you? And say, oh, it's Ryan Lee. Jan Moyer asked me to call.
Yes.
She did just ask us to call.
I did.
So
Yeah.
that's great. No, I love that you said that, because you said it could take 3 years. The thing about sales, and this is hard, is that when you're giving a presentation, you really are selling something. You're selling yourself, all that, but you have to release yourself, detach yourself from the outcome. Like whether someone comes up and says, okay, I want to hire you and I want to have you go around the world and do my 12 homes or not is irrelevant. What's relevant is that you added value and you did the best that you could.
I have always thought, when I'm giving a presentation to 5 people or 500 people, if one person listens and I get through to them, that's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I love that, because if you can, even if there is 500 people in the room, if you can just think about helping one person, you're going to be so much more effective because you're speaking to one person instead of a room of 500, and that can be distracting. I love that. To me, you're like this. How long have you been doing lighting? Is it 45 years?
48.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You're like this. You're like this 48-year overnight success. And
Right.
like people don't realize, like when they start any type of business, like it doesn't just happen automatically. Like Oh, that's awesome. Jan's got these 2 thick books and all this stuff. Like, it's a ton of work, and it's taken you a lot of time and your reputation. It's not like your first year you had, I mean, your name was the same, but you didn't have the reputation. I mean, it was a lot of state fair speaking.
It was. Yes. Yeah. Yep.
And I think people are afraid of that. I don't think they, I don't know if they're afraid of it, but they don't realize that, like, it does take work. There's not like a flip of a switch type activity that's going to get you all this work.
No, and that's true for anyone in any business. We hear this from actors all the time that all of a sudden they're very famous and they've been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what is one thing that, as you go around at your, maybe you see attendees at ILI, you interact with other lighting professionals. What's one thing that you wish more landscape lighting professionals were better at?
Well, we always need to get better at documents. And there's all kinds of scale in how you do the documents. And a lot of my project, I do full scale documents when I'm working with landscape architects and architects. But you don't have to do that. You can do it on a napkin. But what's most important is to have record documents, because you're going to be coming back to a project 5 years from now or 3 weeks from now, and something needs to be done, whether it's fix something or expand on it. And if you have those record documents, you can start from there instead of working backwards to figure out what is there.
Yeah, I like that. I was actually trying to get some brownie points with you. And so I was reading your new book,
Yay.
The Art of Landscape Lighting. And I have not read the whole thing. I'm just being fully transparent, but I was reading it, and there was a section. You're like a wizard. Like, even when I was at ILI, they were talking about some concept, and you're like, oh, that's page 138 or whatever. Like, you had all the stuff memorized. I'm like, how the heck does she do this? But there's a section in there where you were in Bermuda. And the cool thing about this book, you guys, is Jan will go through and talk about, like, challenging projects or what she did and why she did it. And it's got pictures and everything. It's really, really cool. But this project, where it was a wall that was like a man-made wall, you know which project I'm talking about?
Absolutely.
And you get there and it was not according to plan. So can
Not
you talk me through what you learned from that regarding documentation?
That was probably the biggest thing I ever learned in my career. I had spent hours, and my team had spent hours detailing every little pocket in this wall of how many fixtures and which transformers. And I get there and the pockets are completely different. So what I learned is never, ever, ever, ever put lighting fixtures on a contract document, because they're never going to go in the place that shows on that plan, ever, even if it's not a wall like that. So now what I do is I put a note on the contract documents, provide for up to so many of this type and that type on this control zone and this transformer. And then the fixtures start showing up on the record documents so that we know where they are once we've actually placed them for aiming.
Nice. And then at that point, then you'll document an as-build instead of doing all that work prior to, and then learning that another contractor has changed the plans completely.
Yeah, it saves your client so much money, and it saves you so much time to really put the effort into getting it right during the locating and aiming sessions.
Okay, cool. So when you're doing these projects, like, how do you bid them? Are you bidding like a project consultation fee? Is it by the hour? How are you putting together the scope of your work?
It really varies based on the project and the client, because some clients just really don't have any money to spend. So, so I want everybody to have good lighting. So if someone wants good lighting and they don't have any money, then we work just on an hourly basis. And a lot of the time, I don't even charge them for all of the time that I spend, but I get them what they want. And so I try always to think about how much time will it take. And if it's an architectural project, what I mean by that is a project where you have to go through the architectural documents process, then it's going to take more time than if you can just write it on a napkin. So napkins are great, and I'm only being slightly facetious. I do a lot of lists on pieces of paper for the maple tree in the front yard on the left side of the driveway. I'm going to use so many fixtures and these lamps. So I can just do it real quickly. But when it's a more involved formal process, what I try to figure out is how much time am I going to spend in each of the phases of work? So how much time am I going to spend in conceptual design, studying the drawings, working with the other team members, figuring out the problems that we're going to need to solve, figuring out which fixtures we need. Do we need any custom fixtures? Blah, blah, blah. And the same thing with once I've presented my conceptual design to the client, then how much am I going to need to fix what I've thought about because of all the things we talk about in that meeting before I can keep moving forward to get to finishing the specifications and getting the fixture orders pulled together and making sure the transformer schedule, which is the most important piece of paper ever, is accurate and complete. And then how much time am I going to need to spend during construction coordinating with the other team members that are doing the installation, coordinating with the arborists that are getting ready to go up in the trees with me, how much time am I going to spend on site with those arborists, and then how much time am I going to spend on site aiming at night, and how much time do I need to help the client understand what kind of maintenance is required to keep their project looking as good as it is the day it was put together. My analogy always is that landscape lighting is an awful lot like a helicopter. The minute you turn on the helicopter, it starts falling apart or trying to fall apart. And so does landscape lighting the minute you leave. There are animals that get involved, even though they're not invited. There's weather that gets involved, even though it's not invited. There are gardeners, and then people make changes in their gardens. And so all of these things require attention.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
were talking earlier about what is the lifetime of a project? I believe that the lifetime of a project is as long as the client owns the property. And if you're lucky, you'll get sold to the next owner with the property.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think especially people getting into the industry have no idea about maintenance and that the requirement, because especially now when you jump in, it's like, oh, LED, it lasts forever. That's kind of what everyone thinks.
Yeah, no,
So that
no.
must mean no maintenance. Like, no, there's still the animals in the real world and the growing plant material and everything else. So
And the dying plant material.
right, exactly.
Changing
Right.
lamps is really a tiny, small part of landscape lighting, even before LED. It's keeping the system looking good
Mhm.
all the time. And so if you do it regularly, and regularly might be 4 times a year or 2 times a year, but if you keep it up regularly, then there'll never be there's less likelihood of a big problem that occurs that costs a lot of money and sets your system back for whose dog is that?
That's mine. Sorry.
What
You're a
do
bad dog.
do
You're
we
a
get?
bad
No, not a bad dog. We just need to meet this dog.
I know. Here, hang on. Just keep talking.
Okay, I'll keep talking. So documents and staying in touch with the client, staying in touch with all the team members to know that when you need the arborist, they'll be available. They're busy. So sometimes you have to schedule them way in advance. Oh my God, who is that?
I think this might be his first appearance, and I know you're a big dog lover.
I
This
am.
is Remy.
Remy.
He's
Hi,
a
Remy.
golden doodle.
He is such a cute doodle. Hey, Remy.
He's camera shy.
They are such sweet animals.
It's his first
Anything that
time on
comes
podcast.
from a poodle. Poodles are just so sweet.
Yeah,
And
we
then
have
we mix them with
him
us.
and then a Labradoodle, just because I don't want a dog that sheds. So that's like my main requirement. It has to have a oodle in it.
It's got to be oodled.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's his first appearance. So
Now we can say he's a star.
yeah, I got Jan Moyer to do her first landscape lighting live ever at Illy, and we got Remy to do his first podcast appearance ever today.
I didn't realize I was doing it live. I had no idea.
That's so awesome. All right, well, it's probably your last one ever as well.
Could be. Hope.
That's awesome. Okay, let's talk about design just from the basics. If I were to say, all right, fill in the blank, every good lighting design starts with blank.
Downlighting.
Downlighting. Okay.
I
think you
start
said that.
thinking with downlighting always.
Cool. So you would you say every project you've ever done has downlighting on it
Nope.
because it didn't have opportunity, or how come?
Sometimes there just isn't a place. And one project, I used one fixture, and it didn't need to be in a tree. But that's where I start. And if there is no place for it, then there is no place. But if there is, it's the basic balance that you get from all of the different layers of light. So understanding what you can do with downlighting really helps connect people back to the space. You can cover so much more territory with one fixture. It looks more natural. It's not going to get knocked out of adjustment. So it's really a good starting point.
Yeah, I love that. And I think you said this before, is like, the source of our natural light is the sun and the moon. It's coming from up high. So it is natural. It feels right.
Yep.
One thing I think some people are surprised to learn about you, even at this stage of your career, is how much work you do at night. I mean, these nighttime adjustments, and really that's when like the majority of your work is done.
It is. The majority of any person's landscape lighting is done at night. And so when you have a team, it's good to have a bunch of people on your team so that you don't have to work every night. One of the problems that I had when I worked in California was I was working 3 and 4, 5 nights a week, and that's just exhausting. So it's good to have a team that can help you so that you don't have to be at everyone, or you don't have to be all night at everyone, and you can share that responsibility.
How much time do you plan for a project? I mean, is it like based on the number of fixtures, or how do you determine how many nights you're going to be out there?
Yeah, it's based on the number of fixtures, and it's based on the number of fixtures that are different kinds of fixtures. For example, tree mount fixtures take the most amount of time to get in the right place in the beginning, and you can do that during the day. I try and get as much of the aiming of tree mount fixtures done during the day as possible, so the arborists or climbers, if it's Jesse, has to go back up into as few as possible. So usually it's like 25%, somewhere between 25 to 40%. Then below grade fixtures, they're in the ground. So even if they're adjustable, they typically have very little adjustment. So you've got to really get those locations right. So I do those the first night. They're above ground still. I place them where I know it's going to work. Then they can get dug into the ground either that night with a team following behind us, and then we'll come back and finish the aiming. Or the next day they'll get put in, and then we'll finish them the next night. And then stake mount fixtures and others like that are just easy. They're so easy to pick up and move around. They take less time. So each fixture takes a different amount of time. And I figure it out based on how much time I think it's going to take. And, the first fixture always takes more than the 15th fixture in. So you've got to think about how the scale, the more fixtures you're doing, the less time it's going to take, unless you hit some kind of a snafu. And projects do have snafus.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. I think it's interesting because, the way you've done it your entire career is different than what the majority of people like. A lot of people don't really ever go out at night. They might go do what I call like a walkthrough, and like look at it and adjust a couple lights, but the thing's pretty much installed. Others will do like a demo in advance where they'll do that. But some people are like, even like, I don't want to work nights. I don't want to do that. And I'm thinking, I mean, we're in the lighting industry, right?
Yeah, you're in the wrong business.
Yeah. And I actually love nights. So that was one of the things that attracted me to the lighting industry, is like,
it's funny. I hate night, which is why I do landscape lighting. I hate night. I don't want it to be dark.
That's crazy. So I guess I just mean like, I like nights. Well, okay. So here's the thing, like from a lighting standpoint, I hate going into Costco, for example. That's way too bright. Like my eyes are like sensitive. If I go outside right now, the sun's bright. Like I got to have like thick sunglasses on. I don't really like a lot of lighting, which is why I like your style of lighting, because it's a lot of fixtures, minimal output. And that to me is good lighting design.
So what you don't like is glare, and nobody likes glare. You've got to shield
Tell
As
my so you don't think my neighbors like glare? Like, look at all their houses.
your neighbors, yeah, your neighbors like live in glare, don't they? I live in Rio Verde, Arizona, and this neighborhood has the worst lighting that you could possibly imagine.
So where do you stop with lighting? I saw a picture in one of your books of your the place you lived in New York,
Mhm.
and it said something like it was dark most of the time unless Illy was there doing a course. How
Yeah,
did you
there was very little permanent lighting at my property so that everybody could.
really? Oh, was it for that purpose?
Well, it was a big property. It was 6 acres.
Okay.
So I had lighting just around the house, and the house is at one end of the property. So I had some, but every time Illy left the next day when everything turned off, it was so sad. Because that tree out there that's no longer lit, it was just, oh, can't it have light, please?
And you didn't want to just have them just leave it?
Oh, of course I wanted them to, but then what would the next group do?
Turn off the lights? I don't know.
You don't want everybody to see what everybody else did because you want them to think about
Yeah.
what they want to do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
Every
that's
time
interesting.
someone did the pond area, it was completely different, completely different. Every area on the property, every time it was done, it was completely different. And it was so cool seeing what everybody can do and how different we approach lighting and how it can all be good.
So let's say I call you to my house today and say, "Yep, I heard about you. I want to get some lighting." Where do you start? What vantage point do you start your lighting designs from?
What I want to do is talk with you about what's important to you. So I will ask you how do you want to experience your lighting? I'll say, do you look out your windows? And if you do, which windows? Do you look out your kitchen window? Do you look out your dining room window? Do you look out your master bedroom window? Do you have a study and the view out that window? Do you have an art office and the view out that window? Then how do you use your property? So I have had I've had clients where they had 3 levels on a hillside, and the architect said, we can do all this lighting. They're never going to use it, and they go out there every night. So even if they've never used it, you can ask them how they think they would like to use it, so that you can give them the experience that you want. A lot of people think that landscape lighting is for the people that are driving down the street to see your house. I think that's the least important thing. It's for you. It's for you to use and you to enjoy, for you to expand your space and reconnect with the landscape at night.
Okay. So that's cool. And I like how you said it, it depends on the client and all that. So one of the things that they talk about at Illy is that whole client interview process and really understanding. So I actually asked the question in my Facebook group the other day, who's the decision maker for landscape lighting? Is it the wife? Is it the husband? Is it both? Is it the lighting designer? And how do you combat, I guess not combat, but how do you combine like what the client needs versus what they say they want, knowing they're an uneducated lighting person?
Well, part of our responsibility is to help them understand what can be done. So we have to educate them. And there are some people that are easily educated and some people that just do not want to hear it. And so at some point you have to decide if a client is worth working for or not, because the more you're having to bang your head on a rock every time you're doing something for them, it's like, why am I doing this?
Right. I'm
So
assuming you got more confident over time with yourself to be able to walk away from those clients over your career.
yeah, I mean, it's not easy. I haven't walked away from many, but I have had to walk away from some. And I've had some where I've made the price really, really high and they still wanted me.
Don't
And
you
so,
hate when that happens?
yeah, yeah.
That's so funny.
But
Yeah,
one of
you're
the
like,
things to think about is who is the decision maker, because that's who you need to um, work most closely with. But the most important person in the team, and I say team, not couple, because one of my clients was the owner's lawyer. She was the person that I did all of the work with. And so
mm,
I had to make sure she was happy, but I had to understand what they wanted. So if there's someone that's not talking, you have to somehow figure out what it is they like and what they don't like, and what's going to keep you on the job for them.
those are tricky situations. I remember the first time that happened to me. I show up at this house. The husband and wife were there, but so was this other person who I found out was their interior designer.
Yep.
And this is how I learned about interior designers. I mean, I would look directly not at the interior designer, yet the interior designer would answer all my questions. And I'm like, okay, but I just want these guys to answer. So I'm like trying to like move my body around, like put my back to them, like really trying to get that out. But yeah, I learned that. I mean, they controlled the checkbook and they
Yep.
pretty much made all the decisions throughout that whole
Well,
process.
and when you have a client like that, they rely on that person for their sense of design understanding
Hmm.
because they don't have it. There are people that we work for that literally can't see what we see. And so if they've got someone standing there that can help them see that, then we need to work with that person.
Yeah. Yeah. I was trying to fight it. And then once I just gave in and was like, you know what? I think I see what's going on here. It became a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah. And
All right.
once you're an ally of that designer, you might show up on other projects.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's honestly a huge area that I think a lot of people miss out on is if you get yourself in a situation like that and you can just wow not only the homeowners but like the real client, the interior designer, whoever is the handler in that
Landscape
situation,
designer,
you're
maybe.
you're golden. Yeah, that's your future work.
Yep.
So if you had to pick only one color temperature to work with the rest of your life, what would it be?
3,000.
3000?
Mhm.
Um how do you feel about color changing lights?
I'm a purist, and what I mean by that is, Greg, what I mean by that is,
It
uh,
wasn't me.
um, a red maple has red. It doesn't need a red light on it. That doesn't mean that there aren't times for color changing to make sense. And let me tell you about one project that I've just, and it's not even a real project. It was a study that Kirk Bianchi, the landscape designer that I work with here in Phoenix, called me up about. He said, we did that project over there, and we suggest that the clients turn off the pool lights so they can see the reflection in the pool surface. But I really like to see the vessel of the pool. Is there any way that we can plan a system to have the pool lights on and still see that reflection? So we worked with a company called PAL. They had some new color changing lights out.
Yep.
You could dim way down to almost nothing. And we picked this deep, 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 deep blue. And we set up some extra fixtures on some long pieces of white tubing so that they would be at about the right location. We had them down in the water so that it would sort of, as close as we could, mimic what it would really look like. We turned the pool lights off, we turned those on, and then we dimmed them. And we did a whole series of photographs to show what the existing pool lights look like full on, what they look like dim, what the PAL looks like full on, what they look like dim. And what we found is the PAL fixtures dimmed way down in this deep, deep blue looked so cool. And you can still see the effect of the reflection of the
Nice.
light surrounding the pool. So we all learned something new.
That's cool. So just to clarify, was that you had the PAL lights on, then you saw the reflection, and then was the pool light off or on?
The existing pool lights we've pretended didn't exist.
Okay, perfect. Yeah,
And
that's cool.
we turned on the PAL lights, dimmed them way down, and saw what happened.
Love that.
We wanted to see how different it would be from the existing lights to the PAL lights too, which is why we did that. And obviously we have a whole series of photographs, and it was used in a pool magazine just recently as an article.
Yeah, very cool. So how often are you varying the color temperatures in a scene?
Almost never. I can count on one hand when I used metal halide and incandescent together, or when I used a blue gel on some, Colorado blue spruce trees and something else, or when I used actual color in a scene. Very few times, but there are times that it makes sense. But I think we need to be really careful about color because it becomes overwhelming really fast. It's like having your Christmas lights flashing all year long. Do you really want Christmas lights flashing all year long? Do you really want color changing all night long? It's so stimulating that it's exhausting.
Yeah, very interesting. Okay, cool. See, I was always like trying to simplify my business, not necessarily thinking as a purist, like from a design standpoint, but I was like, okay, I really like the way 3000K looks.
Yep.
Yes, I could decide to do 5K on these junipers or whatever, but I was like, you know what? Just from simplicity standpoint and maintenance and everything else, I decided to do 3K. But
Great.
you're even saying you haven't done a lot of that. You would keep that the similar color temperatures.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then my last kind of design question: how do you determine the different light levels that are going to happen in a scene?
The way I taught myself this was I would take either a photograph or a drawing, and it would have to be an elevation or a scene, and I would trace around areas. Like I'd trace around a big tree, and I'd trace around the pool, and I'd trace around a hedge, and I would see what different elements there were, and I would decide which is the most important, which is the second most important, which is the third most important, and I would shade it so that I could see that valuation between one thing and another. And essentially what I did was I taught my mind to see. And now I don't have to do that anymore because my mind has been taught. It sees it. I can stand there during the day and see everything.
That's awesome. Actually, you're talking about that. I just found these from my ILI course this spring. This is not what Jan's talking about, you guys. But this is my elementary version of coming up with different light levels. And again, that is not Jan approved, right? Because the stuff that you had was like different levels of darkness with a pencil and stuff like that. Really, really cool stuff.
But it doesn't matter how you do it as long as it works for you. So you were using different colors to say, this is one thing, this is a second thing, that's a third thing. And that works too. What that doesn't show you is the variation and brightness relationship, which your mind does need to learn.
Yeah. Okay, cool. We got a question from Jeff. What do you think about the dark sky movement, thinking about setting a warmer color as a standard? The effect on the plant seems to be secondary.
Jeff, are you saying that the dark sky people are saying that we should all use 2200?
I think right now it's anything under 3000 is what
3000. 3000 it's balanced enough that it takes care of most color variation, so it's good. I mean, yes, okay. So they're wanting to go warmer and warmer, and at some point it makes no sense to do that because one of the things we learned when we switched from incandescent to LED was the difference between 2700 and 3000 on some black walnut trees. We did a mock-up, and we were going to show the ILI people the next day when the class started how great it was to now be using LED. And so the night before we were doing this mock-up, and we turned it on and we all went, oh, 2700 just did not look good, even compared to halogen, which was only 2850 or something, not that much cooler.
Yeah.
So, so we called them up and said, please get us 3000. And it must have been 2 days before because we had them in time for the class. And we showed them both the 2700 and the 3000 and how much better the 3000 looked. And it's better not only because it's cooler than 27 or 2850 or whatever incandescent halogen was, but because it's broader across the whole color spectrum. And it makes flowers just look fabulous. One of the things that I love showing clients about interiors is when you switch from halogen to LED, your art looks like it's colorful.
Yeah, it pops.
It pops. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too. I know I used to be, I guess it was because I came from the incandescent days, just like hardcore fan of 2700.
Me too.
And I fought it. But like
Me too.
this house I moved into, I did 3K and it doesn't look like 3K to me anymore. It just looks awesome.
Looks great. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you need an aha moment, which is what we got with the black walnuts.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So we're going to pause real quick and we're going to give away some money. We've got a segment that's called gift card giveaway. Are you okay if I give away some money real quick?
Yeah. Cool.
All right. All right. Here we go. Gift card giveaway. All right. It's everyone's favorite time to play gift card giveaway. And this is your chance to win free money. I'm just kidding. If you're here live, all you have to do is be the first person to answer this correctly. And the only rule is it has to be the answer that I think is correct. It might be the correct answer according to Jan or anybody else in the world, but I am the only judge here. right? Well, maybe Jan is too.
Yeah,
I'll let
no,
her
he's
do
the
that.
client. You're the client.
So you just have to guess it right, and I'll send you a $50 gift card. It's that easy. So here's the question. It's around voltage drop. So get your calculators out, people, unless you're a math whiz and you can do it in your head. So we're talking voltage drop. We're talking design, which is going to require, Jan talked about having these transformer schedules and everything else. These are things that you're going to have to know, even with LED. So if you put, here's the question. Wait, I got to get my music ready. Okay. If you put 15 light fixtures on a 150-foot run of 12 gauge wire, and each light is 5 watts or 7 VA, how much voltage drop will you experience?
This is like a big calculation you're asking us to do.
This I might have to give away more money if you get this one right.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to say it again. If you put 15 lights on a 150-foot run of 12 gauge wire, and each light is 5 watts or 7 VA, how much voltage drop will you experience? And I'll give you guys the formula if we don't have anyone start guessing here soon. The formula is watts times length of cable divided by cable constant times 2. All right. I'm going to make it $75 if we don't get someone. I mean, do we need some incentive, you guys? Like, seriously. I guess it's just taking more time for the calculators to work.
This is a great question for you to be asking, because people have thought, since we're now using LED, it doesn't matter anymore. And it does matter.
It does matter. All right. We got Chris. He likes free money.
Hey.
Ask the question again. All right. Here we go. One last time. If you put 15 light fixtures on a 150-foot run of 12 gauge wire, and each light is 5 watts or 7 VA, how much voltage drop will you experience? Now, again, the formula, all you got to do is plug in the numbers, guys. Watts times length of cable divided by the cable constant, which I have not given you, times it by 2. And the cable constant for 12 gauge wire is 7,500. Now I've given you all variables of the equation. All right, we got one guess, no calculator. What's up, Mark? His guess is 2.8 volts, which is incorrect, a little bit low. I would suggest just using the calculator.
That's why we have them. Can you remember back, maybe you're not old enough, when I was in college, we didn't have calculators.
I don't remember that. That's awesome. No, unfortunately, we had calculators that I didn't even know how to use. Okay, which tap actually doesn't matter at this point, because we're just calculating how much voltage we're going to lose.
Yeah.
And then we can determine. But right now, we just want to know how much voltage we're losing, and then we'll figure out which voltage.
We can fix it if we have to.
All right, so we're gonna. Man, who's Facebook user that's guessing here? Because you guys are close. Chris, he's walking his dog. It's not worth closing this feed. All right, so who is this? Who is this Facebook user that's guessing 0.42? All right, I'm going to tell you guys the answer. And then I don't even know. We might not even give a winner. So here's how it works, you guys. Watts times length. So the watts is 15 light fixtures times 7 VA. That's your total watts. Now, a lot of people will do 5 watts, but they don't realize that it's wrong. So the VA is the actual volt amps, which is going to be how much you're using. And so, especially when it switched to LED, people got into trouble here, and they would wonder why their lights were dim or weren't turning on, whatever. So if you go 15 times 7, that gives you 105. That's your total watts in the equation. Times it by your length of cable, which is 150. Now you divide that by your cable constant, which is 7,500, times that by 2, and the answer is 4.2 volts. So the answer is 4.2 volts. And so if you set that up on the 15-volt tap, that would put you at 10.8 volts at the end of your run, which you should be fine.
It's perfect.
check with all of the different manufacturers. Some of them like them at higher voltage, some like it lower. Usually between 9 and 15, you're good. But again, I don't want to make statements for manufacturers. I know Garden Light, for example, they like their lights ran at a higher voltage because that reduces the amperage and the heat and things like that. But every manufacturer is a little bit different. So, Brian Dank, I don't know, man. I don't know if should we give that to him? He put 0.42. I'm not sure if he meant to put 4.2, or if he just did the thing wrong. So, we may not, I don't know. So here's the thing, guys. Let's say you didn't use 12 gauge wire and you use 14 gauge wire. I already did the calculations. If you did 14 gauge wire because you wanted to save money, or you didn't have 12 on your truck, or made some, because people do this. I don't know why, but people do this. The voltage drop for the exact same scenario is 9 volts.
That's too much.
That's not going to work, right?
Mm-mm.
And maybe you were like, well, I'm a over engineer this thing. I'm not going to use 12 gauge. I'm going to use 10 gauge. If you use 10 gauge in this exact same scenario, the voltage drop is only 2.64. So not necessarily a bad thing. It just means you could add more lights in the future if they're thinking about expansion or whatever. So just wanted to give you guys a friendly reminder to use the voltage drop calculator and formula.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay, so let's keep going. Are you ready to go, Jan?
Nope.
Nell says hi.
I know. I just waved at him.
Okay, so before I do want to get into what you're kind of working on now and some of the things that we got coming up, because you got some really cool things you're working on. What's been your favorite lighting project of all time?
You know what? My favorite is always the next one.
Nice.
It is. And I've got the next one. I'm starting on the next one. It's 80 acres in Katona, New York, which is in Westchester. And the property was owned by Diana Vreeland's family. Do you know who Diana Vreeland is? She was the editor of Vogue for a million years.
Oh, wow.
And the property is just stunning. 1 mile alley of trees.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And so it's going to be cool. And the first part of the project is this is great. This is according to the landscape architect. We're going to tart up the area around the house, which is on actually a separate property. The owner bought 2 properties, and this is the second property. And we're tarting it up because they go there for Thanksgiving. That is the time that they go to this property. And after Thanksgiving, we're going to tear down the house.
Really?
Yeah, not me. I won't be there for tearing down the house. And all the landscape lighting will stay that we do around the tart up, but it's over here and the allay's over here. So it's a 10-year project.
Holy cow. All right. Can we get me authorized? Can I get a badge to come do a video with you there?
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in. That sounds so cool. I love your answer too. The best one is the next one.
The next
I like
one.
that.
The first week of November.
Okay.
We have to have it done by Thanksgiving, and Illy is the second week. And
I'm tied up the second week.
Yeah, first week, yeah, me too.
So what about do you have a least favorite project or maybe client that you don't want to name their name?
Well, I think everybody has that, and it doesn't matter how hard you work, you can't make them happy. And if you're like me, I put my heart and soul into it, and I want them to be happy. So when they're not happy, it's like they're just not worth it.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about some things you got going on. Like, what's life like for Jan Moyer these days? What have you been up to?
I'm working on projects not all over the world like I used to, but all over. And they're always at different phases. So I'm really busy doing big things and little things. And then I'm going to Italy this fall, and I'm doing other events like the one in Tampa in September, and others. And so I'm getting around and making sure that I can still help people with whatever they want to know about what I know, which is why I wrote the books and why I did Learn Nightlight.
That's so awesome. So let's talk about some of the things. So what is Learn Nightlight? That's something that you guys launched with Michelle at Garden Light. Was it last year or the year before? You launched that a little while ago.
First 10 were about a year and a half ago, and the last 10 were about a half a year ago.
And what is it and who's it for?
It's for anybody that wants to learn about landscape lighting. It's through the IES Education website. And I went on the IES Education website the other day trying to find it. I couldn't find it. So you have to just put in your browser that you want to look for Learn Nightlight, and it takes you right there.
Yeah,
So
if you
it's
just put it in
20
Google, I've seen it.
It's all and you can buy one or a package of them or all of them. It doesn't matter. And once you buy them, they're yours. So you can listen to them and look at them over and over and over. So it goes through all different kinds of issues, 20 different issues of what we need to know about landscape lighting. And I talk about everything that I can think of that you need to know about that issue.
That's awesome. Okay, cool. So you got Learn Nightlight happening September 12th and 13th. I don't even know if I've announced this yet. I know Garden Light has, but September 12th and 13th, you and I are going to be in Tampa teaching together at the Garden Light LED Dealer Congress Boot Camp.
Yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to for that event?
Well, it's always just so much fun to be with those people because they're the kind of people that work really hard and want to enjoy what they're doing at the same time. So it's always a very comfortable, great food and just really good energy space. And we're going to get to do a mock-up like we always do. Michelle is very busy right now trying to decide where it's going to be. This week, she's at a botanical garden in Tampa, trying to decide if that's where we're going or if it's going to be someplace else.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be so much fun teaching with you.
It will be.
And then we need to talk about ILI. So International Landscape Lighting Institute. You started this what year? This was 2010 or something like that?
No, that 2010 is when it became officially a federal nonprofit. I started it in the 1980s.
My goodness.
And I first taught it at UC Berkeley. And then at the same time, I was teaching it at Rutgers in New Jersey. And then I took it to the Lighting Research Center, and then I just took it. And it was John Tremaine that convinced me that once I didn't want to teach at the Lighting Research Center anymore, that we needed to carry it on and that I could do it myself. Thank you, John.
I just think it's so amazing. The only negative I have about ILI is not good at marketing. Because I didn't know about ILI. I didn't know how amazing it was. And then I went this last spring and I'm like, what in the world? Like anyone in the landscape lighting industry, you have to go. And what I didn't realize until I got there, because you also have this book. This is you're on your third edition of this book, but this book was written originally in 1992. Is that right?
It was first published in 92. I started in 88.
Okay. So, and it makes sense that it would take 4 years to write this because this is like insane.
And the two other editions also took 4 years each.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
So 12 years.
It's not just like a casual read by the fireplace. This is intense, you guys. So the cool thing about ILI is you actually like walk through this as the manual and you live it and you experience it and not just like read about it and like, oh, I'll have to remember that one day. Like you actually live and breathe it. So that's one thing I really appreciated about the ILI experience is it got me into this more than just like I would like look up certain things in here or whatever before, but I really got to have a more thorough understanding of this book and really a deeper appreciation of it. So, and I love that you were at ILI. You're going to be there. Is it 100% you will be there this fall?
Yep, I will be there.
All right. So guys, if you are considering, I'm just telling you this, we don't know, but this might be Jan's last time being at the ILI. So like you have to come. This if you want to hang out around Jan, this is your chance to come. Now I'm not saying maybe in the next spring or fall, whatever, but right now Jan said she's busy, she's getting older, and this may be the last ILI. So if you guys want to come, I'm actually this will be my first time as a mentor there, and Jan will be there. Make sure you come to this one.
Every person that takes it, it changes their life. It's so intense, which is why we call it the intensive course.
It's intense. I was tired, man. I was like, oh, man.
We're all tired. And in the early years, we would do 2 back to back. We would finish one on Tuesday. We'd get it all cleaned up on Wednesday. And we start another one on Thursday. We pretty much thought we were going to die.
Well, That is intense.
There's a Facebook user that can't wait for Illy. That means they must be going. Have you signed up, Facebook person?
Yeah. I
The
mean,
registration is open.
it is open now. So you can go and get registered. I think this one's definitely going to sell out because um, it literally like this might be Jan's last one, you guys. I mean, I'm not just saying that and then all of a sudden she shows up at the next 14 consecutive ones.
No, I'm
She
getting too old, guys.
It's just not going to happen. It's just not a reality. And she wasn't at like the previous how
5
many
years.
years?
5
5 years.
Yeah.
I happen to be fortunate enough to have Jan be at this last spring one, and it's pretty awesome because the team does an amazing job. It's not like
You're
Jan
not-
has to be there to get the experience. The experience is amazing. But what I loved is even when someone was up there teaching, then to go, you would like add a new spin to it, or like actually that's on page 114 or whatever. And I'm like, this is cool. This is cool. So, and it did allow me to get my copy of your new book, The Art of Landscape Lighting, and I got it signed. Got it signed.
So the Art of Landscape Lighting, the subtitle for it is it's a companion book. It's a different publisher, but the idea is the first one is really, really technical, and the Art of Landscape Lighting is inspirational. It's just beautiful image after beautiful image that you can get inspiration from, and you can show your clients, and they can get inspiration from, and tell you more what they're looking for.
Love that. All right. So, and then you were going to tell me the super secretive thing that you were working on.
Can't tell you.
Don't worry, no one's listening. Just go ahead and tell me now.
Nope, can't. I'm sorry, I can't tell you.
Come on.
It's a really cool thing. I'm very excited about it, but I can't say.
Oh man, I thought it was going to work.
Nope.
Well, she's still smart as ever, you guys. Jan Moyer. I was trying to trick her because she does have a super secret, top secret operation she's working on that we're going to find out soon. We don't know when.
Sometimes
it could be in the fall that we'll find out what that is. So, really excited to hear about that. And yeah, what else we got? Did we get everything? Did we cover everything?
There's always more.
There's always more. Well, so again, check out Learn Nightlight. Just Google Learn Nightlight. Check out both of her books, The Art of Landscape Lighting and the Landscape Lighting book. Great resources. And then go to Illy. I'll be there. Jan's going to be there. I got my Illy certificate here, which I have not framed yet. I'm not a framer. But somehow it made it home in like perfect condition. I thought we get like smashed or something like that. But yeah, so come get your certification. Come graduate from Illy. That it was like the MBA. It was like this graduate degree for landscape lighting. And I don't know if there's the best time to go because there was rookies there. There were people that were brand new. And I'm thinking, dang, dude, they're starting out way better than I ever was. I mean, I'm 16 years into the industry and this is my first time. And so
and there are people who have taken it more than once.
Yeah, good point. So I don't think it really matters where you're at in the industry. If you haven't come or if you came 5 years ago, just come. It's I was going to say it's a good time. Is it a good time? It's intense. It's very intense.
So Nathan, you can get the books from Amazon, but you can also get them from either of the publishers. So Wiley is the publisher of the Landscape Lighting book, and Rutledge is the publisher of The Art of Landscape Lighting. And I just ordered some of both, and they just all, yeah, there's a new book, Inspired Outdoor Living, which Greg is in, and a whole bunch of us are in. There's a whole chapter on landscape lighting, and it's the first time that this Inspired Outdoor Living series has had landscape lighting, and it's really cool.
Oh, that's cool. Greg, post a link to that so everyone can go buy a copy. Okay. Well, Jan, listen, I really appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your insights here. Thanks for all the hard work that you've done. I think just the amount of work that you've been able to create throughout your career is mind-boggling. It's like magic to me. I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I'll never understand it because like I was going to write a book and then I got yours and I was like, no, I'm not going to write a book. It's crazy. You've done so much. So thank you for everything you've done for the landscape lighting industry. Congratulations on all that you've been able to accomplish. And I can't wait to see more of what you're working on.
Thank you. And thank you so much for everything that you're doing. This is really helping landscape planning become better known. And I appreciate your work.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right. You have an awesome week, Jan, and have an awesome week, everybody. And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Have a good one.